Hey everyone, welcome to Taste Different Gaming Appetizers. And what are we talking about this time? Thick thighs. And I'm not lying. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. You're going to like these thick thighs. The JRPG producer says people prefer their anime girls to have thick thighs when the economy is in the tank. And he's not joking. Atelier, that's how you say it, producer Junzo Hoshi? I don't know how you say his last name. I probably butchered it. But anyway, that dude says you can thank the Japanese recession for the series' recent embrace of thick anime girls. And he's not joking about it. For some context, the titular protagonist in the Atelier Ryza trilogy apparently made the bold decision to eat enough food to have a healthy amount of body fat, and everyone got worked up about it. Talking to 4Gamer, Junzo, I'm going to say his first name because I think I do that better, drew a seamlessly continuous connection to the Ryza's thick thighs and the Japanese economy. He said, "This is just my perception, but I think the economy has an influence on what kind of designs become popular. There are certain types of characters that are needed in times of recession, and there are types of characters that are embraced only when the economy is booming." In a machine-translated snippet, he had cited trends like a plump figure and motherhood are examples of popular designs during economic recession. You could make the argument that a fuller figure represents financial stability, and that might be more attractive during times of economic hardship. Maybe. I think humans are always primed to have an instinctual attraction to other humans who look healthy because they're more likely to have to be suitable to bear and care for children, and that's probably true regardless of the economy. But who knows? Regardless, Hasi, I don't know how you say his last name. I'm totally butchering it. But anyway, went on to confirm that Ryza's design was influenced by this belief and seemed to suggest that the protagonist in the upcoming Altier, I screwed it up again, but close enough. Yuma, which I've already pre-ordered, won't be as curvy because the team opted to incorporate global trends instead of Japanese specific ones. Yep. So, what do you guys think? You like them thick and juicy? Find that juicy double.
Mix a lot in trouble.
What do you? Before we get a copyright claim, what do you guys think of this? Shane, you're already off of mute. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah.
You like them thick thighs?
So I don't know. I can kind of understand what he's saying. And hear me out, Pat. I see over there rubbing your beard and something else. Can't see the other hand. The times you live in will definitely dictate, healthiness. If you're like in the 30s, 40s, if you were overweight, you were considered sexy because you could afford to eat. Women want a man who can afford to eat. So I can kind of get that. I don't know about the whole global trends thing because they must have thought about a different time in global history because I don't know. It's all screwed up now, so I don't know what kind of thighs you get with this world. But but I can see that because if times are good, you see people thicker and healthier and all that because people are eating okay. People are being able to take care of their bodies and stuff better. In times of financial hardships, things like that, like World War II, I would imagine with all the battles and fighting and everything, money and food was hard for many people and, all over the world. People are going to be thinner. So they're going to recognize, they're going to be represented better by a thinner character, a thinner, person. Now, I mean, I'm purely speaking off of just what was said in the article and how I feel about it. In times of economic yum, everybody's healthy and taking care of themselves. Yeah, I can see she got a little bit of thicker thigh on her. She's eating good. She's been to the Outback Steakhouse twice this week. She's doing all right. She's gonna be thick. Now, economic hardship. She's only been eating, a spoonful of honey and rice, a day. She's gonna be thinner. That's gonna be represented. So, now that's the thighs. But what about the upper body? Let's talk about the boobs. No, just kidding. I don't know.
Riser wasn't small in that department either.
No. That the economy was doing great from the waist up.
It was good all around.
That's why you pre-ordered. So I don't know. I'm trying.
First one, yes,
I'm trying not to say I'm not trying to sound dirty or anything here, but I kind of understand that because, you're going to represent what you see around you. So good times, you're going to see healthier and all that. Bad times, you're not going to see as healthy and everything. So I can kind of see that. But, is it factual? I don't know, because we also like to see things that are not real. We also want to get out of the real world and live in our fantasy world. That's why we play games. So, that's why, Nick and Pat and myself, when we have character creators, what do? Big, thick, booty, breasted, female warriors taking bugs out and things like that. That doesn't have anything to do with the economy. It has everything to do with getting out of the real world, and maybe a little perverse, but it's just the fantasy world we want to create for ourselves. So if you're developing the game, I can kind of see that, but I don't know if I could say that's honestly 100% accurate, but I could definitely see his point on it. 2 points if it's cold. So what about you, Pat? You're over there rubbing your beard like, I don't know. I like them thick all the time, but what do you think, buddy?
I don't know. There are historical references to that, right? During the 1800s, and then like certain tribes of the world, like they fatten their women up to become brides, There are historical things behind that. It depends on where you come from. And I guess, a lot of it was poverty stricken areas would say, she can be a strong mother because she has the weight. She can afford to have the calories to raise children and all this stuff. And obviously you're more because it used to be, I believe in the 1800s and during the Renaissance period, that if you were thicker, you were considered more affluent because you had the money to eat and you had them, you weren't sickly, you weren't dying of some disease where you were gaunt or anything like that. Right. So, I could see that, but I guess it depends on what region of the world you're in, right? If you're in a region of the world where you have economic ups and downs that aren't like 10-year sprints of economic downturn, then I don't think that plays that much of a role in it. I think really what plays most role in like anime and stuff like in video games is what artist studio and the artist, what they hold as being like, what are they trying to create? Are they creating a fantasy world where they know their demographic is mostly men, or are they making a game that, and that's what I think it is. I think it more comes down to artists and company and what they're willing to put into their media, right? If they're like, hey, we want this to represent we're talking about JRPGs, the Japanese culture, they're not going to make them, as big, right? Women as big and thing, because, that's just their demographic is smaller. Now, if you're over here, in another country, they may be like, we want this to be in every person. So we're going to make them a little bit thicker and not so gaunt or tiny, So I think in modern countries, it's less about that. I think he's missed the statistic class where correlation is causation, correlation proves causation. I don't believe that's what you're seeing. I just think it's the artist direction and the game direction. They're like, okay, this game caters to 99% male audience, prepubescent maybe, so we're going to put this in there. I think that's what they're seeing in this guy. Just, I don't know, because where these games are made and who they're being made for plays a lot more into it than economics, I think. And that's just my personal opinion. What that artist and studio deems as attractive is what's going to go in the game. And I don't think that the people that are alive today making games don't have a foresight into I'm trying to find a good way to explain this, but there's a difference between being born and growing up into a poverty-stricken time period where everybody is $100 pounds, and that woman who's 130 or 40 and is thicker is like the town's like prized possession, the prized woman of the town. She's going to get married off to an affluent husband, and they need to make sure that she appears to be that. We don't live in that time period. People's preferences don't typically, in modern cultures and countries, we are not. And maybe this is just a blind side for me, but I don't think that your types change that much. They may change a little bit from when you're an adolescent and adulthood, but when you get into adulthood, your types and preferences kind of are there, right? And I don't think that if all of a sudden that we were in our 30s and we hit a recession that lasted 10 years, we would find a bigger woman to be more attractive. You didn't find that to be attractive in your 30s to begin with. If you were repulsed by a fat person and the economy went to a downturn, I don't think that you're going to be all of a sudden be like, "Whoa, yeah, look at that. She's no longer a size 0. She's a size 4, man, oh man," or whatever. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that my tastes have changed like that. I'm not, the type of.
Yeah, but I also think it's going to be what you're saying. So let's say times have gotten bad. Okay. Everybody is starving and sickly. So you have the 100-pound woman that you described, a pure buck, skin and bones woman. And then you have the woman with meat on her bones who looks like she's eating every day. Skin is clear. She's not having the same hardships as the other woman. Even though you were into smaller women before, and put that in the males too, for ladies.
Yeah, because it went both ways, right?
You're gonna want that healthier looking person, even though they're typically not in your wheelhouse. You're gonna want the healthier looking person. Now, I think we're kind of getting off topic, but
because in their
I
article,
can understand what you're saying, but I also think it's about options. So, and it really, I mean, we've all had options in life that we didn't want to take, but the options that we didn't choose were worse. And I think really I know it sounds cruel, but that's the way it is with people too. When you choose a spouse, I mean, I'm pretty sure my wife, she went against her preferences when she married me. So,
I just think that, especially in the genre that he's talking about, because nothing changed except for their thighs got thicker. So what does that tell you about social status or economic status? I think it's a reach on that aspect.
I agree with you. I think he drew it because that's the way he sees it, but it's not actually. It wouldn't actually be what everybody sees. I mean, Nick, you've played the games. Do you feel that you actually even noticed the thigh change at any point?
In the second game, yes.
You really did actually pick that up?
The second game was fan service to the max.
And that's what I think that they did. They realized after the first game who their demographic was.
But
right?
they did, but then I think in the same time they kind of learned that really wasn't what the demographic wanted, because in the third game it was back down to not fan service at all.
The game came in and they were like, oh my God, this sold with the middle-aged male or younger male.
Yeah.
We need to bring them back. So we're going to throw in fan service.
Well, it's like
and it didn't do so well.
Was attractive in the first game, right? And then the second game, it was like full on fan service. Like I was like, holy crap, they really went just
breast size
deep,
increase,
I guess, right?
and all.
And it probably didn't,
into the fan service with this one. And then in the third game, I was like, they really pulled the fan service back on this one. Like,
so they probably got a lot of pushback, right?
They did. Because in the second game, she was like in short shorts with like half her butt hanging out and like the top down. And in the third game, she was like mostly covered here and mostly covered on the, and not like it was basically kind of what she was more of in the first game.
Fans were like, hey,
more imagination.
We came here because we liked the gameplay and the story. And then the second one, you were like, hey, we got a lot more TNA. And they were like, that's not what we really wanted.
Yeah.
So, and then they reined it in and they stuck with the storyline.
Right. Because the gameplay and the story were really good. Like, yes, there was attractive characters and stuff like that, but that wasn't the main focus of the game. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, even with me, like, of course, I don't mind looking at that type of stuff, but even in the second game, I'm like, oh, it's you went a little too much on this one.
You were starting to get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was like, it's a little too much. Like, just reel it back a little bit. Like, my goodness, And then the third game they did. So, and in this one, the new one, still the protagonist is attractive, but yeah, she's not as curvy, lower wise, as in the as Ryza was.
And I think that we could probably do this correlation to the design team for the first one, the design team for the second one, the third and the fourth one are probably all different design teams and different teams from the bottom up. You'll probably get in there to say that. And it's like, okay, you expect this design team to look at those concepts and just do it exactly with the people that are making, like the second one, they probably came along and they were like, we need, you know what, guys, sex sells. We're going to sexify this one up to the max. And then they're like, oh man. And now they have to go back and they're like, how do we make this work? Right. So I don't think that this game is a point of history that says the game developer was going through historically and saying, oh, we're in a type of feast or famine.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you something. I've not played the game, so I don't know. So you said it went full-blown fan service. Now, are you talking about just imagery, or are you talking about the storyline as itself? I mean, did they keep the same great story? Okay.
The story was still good.
Okay. See, that's what I was kind of wondering about when you described it. I'm like, well, did they...
They just know with the imagery, they went full fan service.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure they were take the characters.
You could tell with the character design in the second one that they were really trying to hone in the horn dogs on that one, right?
And
the story was still good, the gameplay was still great, everything was still great about it. It was just really like, hey, look at this eye candy while you're playing a good game, right? Yeah. And it's like, the eye candy was fine the first time around. Like, you don't need to enhance it. It was the story alone. Like, and Rise is a really good character. They're all great characters. The story's really good. The gameplay's fun. Like, you have a good RPG here. You don't need to like go
it up.
Yeah, you don't need to go that far with it.
Yeah.
Well, at least they learned it didn't just make it worse than the third one, and then the fourth one. It's just like it's like Girls of DOA in the fourth one, right?
Right.
Okay. Don't ever insult those girls. They work hard. Those are somebody's daughters.
That's what they said.
But that's what he said.
But they also decided to put them in those positions in Girls of DOA.
Well, his daughters are, they're their own people. So, but let me ask you something. Do you think, because we all make characters, our characters female, and we want them busty and all that, but there's certain characters in games, female characters specifically, that have evolved, and Lara Croft is like a really great example. Even though she was, 16-bit square boobs, she was designed to be sexy in the first several iterations. Now, when they rebooted, they toned the sexuality down. Do you think they could tone it back up? Because even in the DLC outfits and everything, none of it was like slutty. None of it was Horn dog.
Could they? They probably could. Should they? No, I don't think so.
But do you think it would hurt the game?
I like the newer design of Laura Croft because I think it makes her look more real and like a real person. And like, I like the character. I mean, I always like the character. The new ones, I like the design. I like how the character is. You know, back then that was to help sell the game, right?
Yeah.
For Crystal Dynamics, that really helped them sell Tomb Raider, even though Tomb Raider on its own merits was a good game.
Yes.
Right? It still had its
when they had to put Laura Croft on the cover to sell the game because they're like, what's this Tomb Raider game?
Right. It got more eyes on it, right? Yeah. But then people played the game and were like, hey, this game's actually fun, right? Yeah. So
yeah, they toned her down and eventually put her in a pair of pants.
They really matured the character.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like the new Tomb Raiders, the new ones that came out, like especially like the very first one, the Tomb Raider came out in 2016 or what year did that one come out?
15, I think. Their first reboot, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're all good, but man, that the Tomb Raider
2013 was. I mean, they did Tomb Raider. They redid Tomb Raider in 2013,
just
and then
straight up
Rise of the Tomb Raider in 2015, and Shadow in 2018. And
they're all great games, but like the first one that they rebooted, right, was fantastic. Like I love that game so much. That game was really good, and so I think Crystal Dynamics did a really good job with it, and I love the character. I love Laura Croft as a character. And so they don't need to sexy her up. I think she's already a leading woman in the sense of as a protagonist. So,
well, and half the time, especially you're like, what new armor or outfits can I put her in? Because you could change some of the outfits and stuff in the wild.
And none of them were, they had some homage outfits, but they didn't.
It made her feel
look
strong,
like
right? Because it almost feels like a warrior woman instead of like the like in the.
Yeah, the plate chest piece that the male gets is full armor, and then the woman's is just like a cutlass. It's just like
right. It made her feel like more realistic, right? To have her, because that's how she would, in the real world, that's what they would normally wear. She wouldn't be going out into the Amazon in a freaking,
booty shorts,
tube top, and some booty shorts, right?
Yeah.
Well, it just wouldn't work in the real world. You'd find souvenirs in your cracks. So
right. So it makes more sense that way.
All right. Now, one more question before we go. What female character could use a little sexy and upping?
I don't know, because I don't think of it that way when I play the game, I guess.
Oh, easy. Abby.
I just get rid of her altogether.
Yeah, he likes to beat that dead horse, doesn't he? He likes to beat that dead horse.
I can't even think of.
Well, when I think of dead horse, I think of.
I can tell you one that they ruined. They ruined Aloy. For whatever reason, they decided to change her character model up between the first one and the second one. I think they did a disservice to that model, but I don't know. They made her more childlike. I don't know how to explain it, but they went like a completely weird direction with that character model, and I'm like, oh.
Now, you're not talking about Lego version, right?
No, I'm talking about the actual game.
That was super creepy. She was so edgy.
Boom, boom.
But yeah, so I mean, but like I said, I like to be able to create the character I want in video games, and there are places for story-driven games like Tomb Raider where you're playing that. But I also usually don't mind playing a game where I get to pick my own character, but it fits in story-driven narrative games like Horizon. It makes sense that they pick a character that you play, and because you can't make yourself look like what's his face from who's the blue guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, Yondu. You're like, hey, I'm going to play a game, and I made my character look like Yondu, and then my parents are a couple of people from the Middle East or something, and you're like, how'd you get a blue kid, with a fin or something, So it makes sense when you try to do a story-driven game that you can't design your own character, right?
Yeah, no, and that's a great example, though. Yeah, if it's a story narrative-driven focused game, you shouldn't have the option to create a character. Maybe outfits or something, obviously, but big blue chick running around in a mechanical desert, that doesn't make sense.
Right? Yeah. Where did this blue person come from when everybody else is,
Blue milk from Star Wars.
I guess she had some of that blue milk.
Yep.
Luke Skywalker came down and visited him, dropped
Yep.
off some blue milk. They fed that to the mother once she's pregnant and then the child. So
Of course, it makes sense.
right. Yeah. So to me, I'm like, I guess I don't. Every game I've ever played, the character design from the first to the second to the third always changes. It's never the same. It seems almost nearly impossible as technology changes. The way that they render those characters changes, and so that obviously changes certain aspects of it. New engines, and they got to rebuild the character in that engine. So I mean, it just makes sense that characters, and that's what I would have attributed to that and the design team more than just economics are leading that more people are finding this body type attractive, and that is the thing. I mean, different generations do find different body types attractive throughout history, but there is no one world consensus on what's attractive. So, or there's not even I don't even think there's a majority consensus on what everybody finds attractive, right?
Me.
Hell, we can't even agree on food or anything in this world, let alone what an individual and a group of individuals finds attractive in their
sushi.
People argue about everything. You can't make everybody happy, and you can't even really say what the average is, because that's just,
a consensus would be you'd have to ask everybody, like every goddamn body. That's the only way you're going to get.
But then it wouldn't be truthful then, because then you got people lying about their preferences, and then they're playing footsies in the bathroom with each other or whatever,
That's true. Nick,
people can't be true what they say. In your consensus, your poll is invalid.
In the bathroom.
And you can take that to the bank. In the bathroom.
In the bathroom. Bathroom bank.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know.
To each their own.
Yeah, to each their own.
Yep.
To quote Shakira, the hips don't lie. So,
But that ass will kill you.
So that must mean, according to this guy, because this is a JRPG, right?
Yeah.
That means that Japan is in an economic increase because her thighs got smaller.
Yep.
No, wouldn't it be a decrease?
No, it'd be an increase because her thighs got smaller. So that means that they have a more profitable economy.
And the new one,
then she'd eat more. Her thighs would be thicker.
No, she would.
Yuma
people find you more attractive the smaller you are.
She doesn't have thick as thighs as Ryza did.
Right, because they're saying the poorer you are, the thicker you like your women. The richer you are, the thinner you like your women. Right?
Yeah, because you want to see, not what you're gonna see. Gotcha.
That's what they're saying. So,
well, everybody start buying Japanese. God dang it! Them thin as rails. I think we are.
Yeah, there'll be olive oil before long.
Oh,
that's right. Olive oil.
Oh, Popeye.
Brutus. All the guys will be Brutus, and we'll have olive oil.
Do you know olive oil was the first AIDS victim? And now you do.
All right. Well, that'll end this one. So let us know down in the comments below. Do you like thick thighs? Not AIDS, thick thighs. Let us know down in the comments below what you think. Do you like your anime women thick? Thick is what the kids say nowadays.
The thickness.
Yep. And other than that, let us know down in the comments below. But like the video, share, hit the bell notifications, subscribe, all that good stuff. Other than that, have a good one. See you. Bye-bye.
See ya.